All right, we are back with Bryant Roses. The new album is It's Already Better Than It's Ever Going to Be. And the song you just heard is called Small Star. Tell me about existing on this small scale with the ones you love and just being totally caught up in that constellation.
Hmm. Yeah, that song is one of the first songs I wrote on this album, maybe actually a couple years ago now, and maybe just when I started posting some things on social media, and um, before I really had any attention, and I was trying to promote my music there a little bit, and as many people who many musicians who are most musicians are a little wrapped up in the social media game, and it's there's a lot of pitfalls that I think are discussed in many places. But as I was kind of thinking about this whole process as I was posting things and not really knowing exactly what, I know knew I wanted to put out music for so my kids could have them, and I wanted to show them that they could live a creative life. But when you get involved in the social media thing, it can turn into a grind kind of easily. But I think one of the benefits of it is that it just really does give an opportunity to share your music with people that that you wouldn't have been able to do 20 years ago and prior to that. And I mean, it's really that song is kind of it's kind of a somewhat of a parody of the Buck Owens song Act Naturally, made famous by Ringo Starr. Um, I'm going to put me in a movie. I'm going to make a big star out of me. Um, which that idea, there still are big stars, but there's a whole sea of small stars now, with social media. Anyone can make a song and have a million people listen to it, and that's a lot more accessible to a lot more people. And I think there's something kind of uh, you know, aside from all the pitfalls of social media, I do think there's something beautiful about that. Just um, being able to make more uh, uh, artists that are, accessible, that have art, integrated into their regular day-to-day lives, that maybe don't have, the huge touring responsibilities that, for myself, like I was saying, like I'm not a touring musician. I, live at home with my family. And I'm very content with that. And living in our, I think the idea of being a big star isn't super appealing to me. I think it has its, obviously it's well documented pitfalls in itself. Um,
Being more light could cause someone to burn out.
right. Sorry, what causes someone to burn out?
Making more light, you talk about the shooting
Oh,
stars.
right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. I think, I think, yeah, that's talking about so many artists who, I think of touring life. So many musicians, have the way much of the industry has been set up is where, your job requires you to step away from your family and the people that love you, and you have to go on the road. And, and that still is reality for many people. And I'm not saying that, I've never considered that. But, again, in my life up until this point, that doesn't seem like a thing. That's not a thing that I really want to add into my life, is kind of separating myself from my wife and my kids. I like my domestic life. And if that means sacrificing some of the, potential, success it would have, I think that's fine. And I think that song is about just kind of being able to be content, with being content with that.
How do you, I mean, how do you operate a music career that without really doing too much to promote it? I mean, I found you, but
Uh-huh.
I I am a voracious music listener. I
Uh-huh.
go out and try to consume every new album I can find mentioned on any folk music website. But
Uh-huh.
no, how are you connecting to your audience?
Well, I mean, social media is my main kind of avenue that I've built, a following on. And again, like I was saying, like has its own pitfalls, but it does just connect you to people in a way that is just kind of, unprecedented, obviously. I will say I'm not a full-time musician. This is not my full-time gig. But I, have been able to achieve some success with just finding folks that are interested in my music. So I am pretty consistent with social media and trying to be as engaging as I can on that as far as promoting my releases. But I mean, it has been somewhat of a challenge. I remember. Um, sometimes I will post a song and I'm just like, I did not really let enough people know about that song that I was kind of really excited about as I maybe should have. Um, but again, it's just different priorities that I do have in my life that I'm pursuing and ultimately at this point it does take a back seat to to things sometimes. So
Well, yeah, the world is a bit of a mess, but you can keep your world
hmm
nice and controlled. That's not
yeah.
a bad message to hear in this time.
Yeah, and I think especially in this phase of life that I'm again having really small kids and particularly with having a newborn in the house, that's just kind of what happens when you have a newborn in the house is your world becomes very internalized. You're just focusing all this energy on keeping this very small baby safe and fed and trying to get sleep. So you just turn inwardly for an amount of time, and then as they grow up, you slowly start to like reemerge in the world. So it is kind of I think the album kind of has grown out of that area of kind of being very introspective in our house and in a somewhat controlled environment with our kids. And as my older kids are going out into school and becoming, making their own friendships and own relationships, we're, turning outward again. But it is kind of a strange period of life where it becomes very internal, focused on your little life and little family.
Well, I like to close out my interviews by asking the artist to pick a song. The only rule is you cannot have had anything to do with its original creation. Um, Pick me a song that sort of focuses on those little things that are so important.
A song, so from another artist, you're saying? Yeah. Um, One of my favorite songwriters is his name is Hayden, Hayden. I think Hayden Desser, I think is his last name, but he goes by Hayden. Um, he's this great folk songwriter, and he's been around for a while. He always puts out great albums. And the song that I'm thinking of that is in a very similar vein is there's this song, I think the song is called Motel. And I think the album is called Us, and the song is called Motel. I think it's the first song on the album. Um, but it's what I think he's so great at is he's great at writing little narratives of these beautiful little moments, and it's a and it probably very much influenced the album that I just put out. But it's this song that he wrote about. He kind of emerges over the course of the song, but going on a trip with I think driving his newborn baby around in the car. I assume because the baby was crying, or and they're kind of thinking about talking about with his wife maybe going on a vacation with her after the uh, when the baby is further grown or something like that. But it's a beauty. I highly recommend listening to that song, and I really that whole album. Many of his albums have very subtle, um, really focused articulations of little vignettes of moments that he finds meaning in. I think that was always he's always been one of my favorite songwriters. So that's why I'd say Us by or the Motel by Hayden.
All right, Bryant Roses, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Trevor. It's been a pleasure.